Florida once sold the ultimate American fantasy. Sunshine, low taxes, freedom, prosperity. A place where a man could build a life on his own terms. Where investors bragged that rents would only rise. Where builders promised that demand would never fall. Where every empty lot was painted as the beginning of a dream. But dreams are fragile, and Florida's reality in 2025 is finally catching up. Because when the tide goes out, we see who was building fortunes on sand. Tonight, we are going to expose the 10 Florida cities where the rental market is cracking the fastest. Places where vacancy signs stretch across the skyline. Where landlords are panicking behind their polished leasing offices. Where renters suddenly hold all the power. And where an unspoken truth can no longer be ignored. A boom built on hype always ends in silence. This isn't opinion. This isn't clickbait. This is data, economics, and consequence. Let's begin. 10. Ocala, Florida. Ocala used to represent peace. Horse farms, oak canopies, and suburban serenity. Far from the chaos of major metros, people arrived chasing safety, retirees seeking calm, families seeking affordability. Developers saw that desire, and they built faster than Ocala's job market could sustain. Between 2020 and 2023, over 6,000 new rental units were added, one of the area's largest surges in history. But as construction cranes filled the skyline, the fundamentals weakened. Hospitals slowed hiring, logistics fleets cut hours. Remote workers who fled big cities, many were called back or laid off. Demand evaporated. Vacancies surged above 11%. Brand new units now offer free rent, zero deposits, even gift cards to get tenants through the door. Ocala was supposed to be safe. Instead, it has become a warning label. 9. Daytona Beach. Florida. Daytona Beach lives in two worlds. One, the fantasy, tourists, racing crowds, and nightlife that never sleeps. The other, a reality, builders betting on everlasting demand. Right before it slowed to a crawl, thousands of new units rose near LPGA Boulevard and the Speedway. Luxury complexes lined the waterfront. Investors believed the party would never end, but tourists don't sign year-long leases. And workers in tourism, they can't afford premium apartments priced for Wall Street-level income. Vacancies have now climbed past 10%. Short-term rental hosts, crushed by rising insurance and shrinking occupancy, are dumping properties into the long-term market, flooding supply. Developers misjudged the difference between visitors and residents. Now the silence between events is deafening. 8. Port St. Lucie, Florida. Port St. Lucie was the poster child of pandemic growth. New York, Miami, New Jersey. They stampeded into the Treasure Coast with U-Hauls and dreamboards. The city believed the boom was a permanent upgrade. It wasn't. Home construction surged. Rental construction surged even faster. Investors bought thousands of single-family homes expecting endless demand. But by 2024, migration slowed. Job growth slowed. Wages stagnated. Yet the buildings kept rising, vacancies climbed, rent prices fell, incentives exploded. Brand new homes that once sparked bidding wars now sit empty, the lawns growing wild. A reminder that the future can change faster than a developer's spreadsheet. 7. West Palm Beach, Florida. West Palm Beach became the escape hatch for Wall Street. Financial firms fled Manhattan. Corporate offices promised a new era of prosperity. Developers heard that story. They built high-rise dreams, glass towers overlooking a future that never fully materialized. Remote work stabilized. Corporate relocations slowed. The stream of wealthy renters narrowed into a trickle. Downtown vacancies climb every month. Brightline-adjacent complexes, once untouchable, now push desperate concessions into the market. The rich never stay when the economy cools. West Palm Beach is learning that the hard way. 6. Kissimmee, Florida. Kissimmee believed tourism was an insurance policy. Disney never closes, vacation rentals always fill, the cash flow will never stop. But tourism is cyclical, and investors forgot that. Airbnb mania turned Kissimmee into a speculation battleground. Entire neighborhoods became short-term rentals owned by out-of-state landlords expecting endless profit. Then the dominoes fell. Insurance skyrocketed. Booking rates collapsed. Regulations cracked down. thousands of Airbnbs converted to long-term rentals practically overnight, flooding the market. Vacancies surged. Rent cuts became standard. Signs offering 2 months free are everywhere. Kissimmee is now the cautionary tale for every investor who confused hype with fundamentals. 5. Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville was never supposed to slow down. A massive land area, military bases, port expansion, growing suburbs. Developers translated big land into big confidence, perhaps too much. More than 14,000 new rental units hit the market in just a few years. The jobs needed to support those residents didn't. Insurance inflation crushed affordability. Renters re-evaluated their budgets. Many left for cheaper counties farther inland. Now, large complexes in Bartram Park, the South Side, and Town Center are deeply underwater on occupancy. Even beach-adjacent communities aren't immune. Jacksonville's problem isn't desirability, it's math. Build too fast, charge too much, and reality catches up. 4. Tampa, Florida. Tampa soared higher than nearly any other city during the boom. Investors called it the next Miami. Developers believed it too. Luxury everything, rooftop pools, marble lobbies, sky-high rents. It worked until it didn't. More than 14,000 high-end apartments came online within 24 months. At the exact moment, costs exploded for everyday residents. People love Tampa, but love doesn't pay $2,700 a month for a one-bedroom, not when wages refuse to climb. Vacancy is now spreading from Water Street to West Shore and into suburbs like Brandon and Wesley Chapel. Landlords who once mocked negotiation now beg for signatures. Ego built Tampa's boom. Economics is dismantling it. 3. Orlando, Florida. Orlando has always lived by one rule. As long as the theme parks are busy, the city is safe. But that rule has been broken. Disney attendance is strong, yet spending per visitor has fallen. That means fewer stable hospitality paychecks, fewer renters qualifying for premium leases. Meanwhile, Orlando's greatest weakness has been exposed. It built an entire real estate boom on the assumption that Florida's Airbnb bubble would never pop. It popped. Davenport, Horizon West, Kissimmee. Thousands of vacation rentals poured back into the long-term market. At the same time, luxury apartments opened everywhere from Lake Nona to Mills Park. Vacancy ratios now resemble 2009. Rents are falling month after month. The reset has begun, and Orlando is nowhere near the bottom. 2. Fort Myers, Florida. Fort Myers was supposed to be invincible, one of America's fastest-growing cities, the darling of retirees, the magnet for remote workers. Then, the slowdown arrived. 10,000-plus new rentals built. Demand suddenly vanished. Insurance became unaffordable overnight. Hurricane anxiety pushed people inland. Brand new apartment complexes stare into the void. Hundreds of units empty, waiting for renters who will not come. Investors who bragged about doubling rents now undercut each other just to survive. Fort Myers proves a brutal truth. A hot market can turn cold faster than concrete dries. 1. Cape Coral, Florida. The biggest rise, the hardest fall. Cape Coral was the king of the rent boom, one of the fastest surges in the entire United States. Everyone believed the hype. They're all coming to Florida. Demand will never fall. Storms won't scare anyone away. Buy anything, it'll rent. Then reality arrived like a Category 5 storm. Insurance premiums exploded. Reconstruction delays dragged on. Migration slowed. Taxes climbed. Corporate remote work disappeared. The math finally snapped. Vacancies among the highest in the state. Rent declines among the fastest in the country. Oversupply so extreme that the pipeline is still delivering units into a market collapsing beneath it. Cape Coral has become the final lesson. Speculation creates castles. But fundamentals decide who gets to keep them. A new reality for men and money. Florida was never just a state. It was a promise of freedom, of control over your life, of financial dominance, of sunshine replacing struggle. But now, men who moved here for financial independence are discovering something darker. When costs rise faster than income, freedom shrinks. When insurance becomes a second rent, autonomy disappears. When developers overbuild, renters become targets, not customers. When a market is based on hype, the silent collapse hits hardest. Some cities will recover, some will not. Florida is rewriting its economic identity in real time. The winners will be those who prepare, who act with precision instead of emotion, who read the data instead of the marketing slogans, who are not afraid to walk away from a bad deal, even in paradise. Because the truth is simple. If you don't control your decisions, the market will control your outcome. Stay sharp, stay informed, and never let a dream blind you to the numbers beneath your feet.